Hey, my name's Kaitlyn, and I'm bringing you along apartment hunting in Toronto with me as I look at some older buildings with some character. So, I decided I want to move out of this apartment. No, don't get me wrong. I actually love this apartment. I love the area that it's in, and I've been here for about 3 years. However, there are a few reasons that I think it's time to move. I was going to vlog all of this, and I did, but then I never ended up editing it or posting it. But if you've watched my channel before, you may have noticed my bedroom looks a little bit different, and that's because I moved my bed into my living room and turned my one-bedroom apartment into a studio apartment, essentially. And I'm using what used to be my bedroom now as an office to film videos for my second channel. While I really love what I ended up doing with this space, I kind of just feel like it's time for a change after 3 years of living in this space. I ended up finding out that my visa is actually delayed for most likely another 10 months or so. On top of that, my brother suggested that we move in together so that we can both save some money. And if we were going to do that, this space just isn't big enough. Just the way the layout is of this apartment, I can't really bring my desk out here if I wanted to have him have the bedroom, for example, and then me keep like the studio space. Just the way it's laid out with where the windows are, there's nowhere for me to put my desk. If that fireplace wasn't there, I could have kind of made that like my office area, but I can't, obviously. So the layout just isn't correct for what I'm kind of needing now. And then on top of that, the day I decided to go look for apartments, I came home and there was a notice on my door that they're going to be increasing my rent. So all three of those things combined, I kind of just decided it kind of seems like a sign that maybe I should just use the next year to experience something different. I have the time kind of allotted now, and I feel like it's just time for some change. So that all is to say, I started looking at some apartments. Now, I was watching some apartment hunting videos that other people have done, and they go to like 10 apartments. I did not need to do that to find my dream apartment. I ended up only going to 4 apartments. I did look extensively online for ones that I wanted to go view. However, I knew what my criteria was, and just from looking at photos, I had an idea if a space was going to fit my needs. And also, I was very picky about the area I wanted to look in. I specifically was looking in Midtown in Toronto. I love Midtown. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's in the middle of the city, so it's very close to kind of get anywhere you want in the GTA in general. So I really didn't need to go look at like 10, 20 apartments to find what I wanted. So let's talk about my budget to start off. The apartment that I'm sitting in right now, when I originally got it, it was around $1,800 a month, and it had 1 month free, all the utilities included. So it was a really good deal to upgrade from what I originally had. Keep in mind, all of these prices are in Canadian dollars. And if I didn't mention it already, I was looking in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, in the Midtown area. So all of that is to say, this apartment started off with a relatively good deal. There is no amenities in the building. However, the laundry room is very nicely kept in this building. It's in a very great area. There are tons of things around that you can walk to. Nothing that's like across the street per se, but very walkable. So for what it is, I still absolutely love this place. And if all of those things I just mentioned earlier didn't happen, I would probably just be staying here until I moved to the US. However, when I got that notice on the door, all of those things combined, I decided, I want to see what is out there. Can I find something for the same quality that's either the same price that my rent was going to increase to, which I haven't mentioned yet. They're trying to raise it to $21.62 a month. Crazy. For a 1-bedroom apartment that is decently spacious, but also like no amenities for that price. There's also no air conditioning. Just things like that seem a little bit crazy to me. Also, the appliances in the kitchen are all just like standard like apartment grade. Like they're nothing fancy or anything, So with that in mind, and considering I might have been splitting with my brother, I wanted to keep my budget under $2,200 a month, possibly plus hydro, because a lot of buildings don't include utilities. This one crazily does, that I'm in right now, but a lot of them don't. You have to pay for at least hydro. So I was willing to do that at least. So $2,200 was kind of my max budget. which sounds like an insane amount of money. And I agree, it is. But unfortunately, I was born and raised in one of the most expensive cities in Canada. So here I am. And considering my rent was going up to nearly $2,200 a month, in my mind, I was thinking that it's pretty reasonable if I can find something that is better for maybe a little bit more or around the same price, or something cheaper for a similar quality. So from there, the hunt was on. I ended up going onto one of my favorite websites, which is View It. It's a great website to use if you're looking for older buildings in Toronto. Other than that, I have gone onto the Achilles website, which I don't really recommend Achilles. They're known to be slumlords in Toronto. However, my very first apartment was with an Achilles building, but I did have a lot of issues with them. But View It, my best friend. So once I was on View It, I was able to kind of look through apartments to try to find the criteria of what I was looking for. So let's talk a little bit about what my criteria is. I honestly am not a very fancy person. I really, really love old school vintage apartments. I was not looking for any like brand new build. I don't care for amenities. I don't need a gym. I don't need a pool. Not only are the new build apartments just extremely tiny, I love original hardwood floors. I love cast iron radiators. I just love some charm to an apartment, and new builds just don't have that at all. So why wouldn't you try to get like a bigger apartment for cheaper? Like it just doesn't make sense to me, but you know, to each their own. I also hate luxury vinyl floors, and that seems to be what is in most of the new builds. So yeah, they're just not for me. I will take a parquet floor depending on the stain over the LVP flooring. So saying all of that, View It is really good to try to find those kinds of apartments because a lot of them still have the original flooring, a lot of charm, but have things such as updated kitchens and bathrooms, which was another part of my criteria. I was not going to downgrade from what I have now. In this apartment now, I have an upgraded kitchen and bathroom. Now, is it upgraded to like more my style? Not exactly. So I was thinking if I was able to find an upgraded kitchen and bathroom that was more to my style, that is what I would jump on. Oh, and I needed it to at least be a 1-bedroom, but big enough for a bed and a desk for his computer. Also, I will say as well, the layout of the apartment is very important to me as well, because I kind of wanted a little bit of separation between his area and my area as well, if that was possible. I didn't want his bedroom to be right off of the living room. I just wanted a little bit of separation, a little bit of privacy, because the whole goal was to turn the living area into, again, a studio apartment vibe like I have right now. However, I would have to then kind of integrate my office area, which is a whole project on its own, but we will get to that. Saying all of that, I finally went on to View It, and I also went on to Achilles' website. The only reason being they do a lot of upgraded renovations of older apartments that are very European style, and I really love it. Some of them have herringbone floors. Some of them do have kind of like a hardwood vibe, and then some of their kitchens are really nice as well. However, let's talk about the very first apartment that I ended up going to see, which was an Achilles apartment. And it was a bit of a catfish apartment for the reasoning that the photos that they had on the website for the address were like images similar of a different unit, so it wasn't exactly the unit that I was going to be seeing. This building that this apartment is in, it was actually one of the buildings that I wanted to move into when I was looking for my second apartment, this one that I'm in now. This building, they had a lot of units that I really loved the renovations in at the time, and when I was looking and seeing that an apartment was available in that building, it was one of my, dream buildings. I needed to go see it. So I immediately contacted the leasing agent, and the very next day I ended up going to View It. Now this apartment is a little bit out of the way for things, but it wasn't in a horrible location for me. Some of the perks for this apartment were that it had a balcony, which I never even imagined having a balcony, but would be nice because I could put a bunch of plants out there, like herbs and stuff like that, have a little garden going. And then it's also kind of nice sometimes to just sit outside and enjoy some fresh air, as fresh as the air can be in the city, which isn't very fresh. But on top of that, the square footage of this apartment was insane. It was like 800 square feet, probably like 300 square feet or so more bigger than the apartment I'm in now. They had herringbone floors in the photos that were shown, but the floor plan showed that there was this little alcove that was really cool that wasn't in the similar photos. Now, I say this apartment was a catfish apartment because upon walking into this apartment, Not only were the floors a bit different, they were also weren't installed properly, but the kitchen was not the same grade of renovation that the photos were. Yeah, the appliances were stainless steel, but I was looking for their renovated apartments that had like, what are they called? They're like face plates that go over the fridge and over the dishwasher so that they blend into the cabinets. Why can't I think of the name of that? Comment down below. My brain is blanking right now. I've had like 4 hours of sleep today. And also, I apologize. I filmed this so fast because these two ladies came in with a baby, and so I just kind of rushed through the filming because I didn't really want to film them and be rude. But as you can see, the living space was huge. Like the area I could have made my studio, just giant. I can't remember. I think it was like 12 or 14 feet by 20 or 22 feet, the area that I would have had. But either way, when I first walked in and seen that kitchen, I was so sad because I was ready to apply to this place on the spot, because not only was the square footage insane and it was in a building that I was interested in, it also had a balcony, which was cool. The bedroom was also huge for my brother. On top of that, it had a washer and dryer. I forgot to mention that, a washer and dryer in unit, which is something I never thought I would have in Toronto because the older apartments normally never have washers and dryers in them. This one also did. So it was like honestly perfect, except for the price. It was $2,200, which is the very top of my budget, which I didn't love. But to have a balcony, a washer and dryer, it was on the ground floor, but like elevated because just the way the building sat on the ground. So the balcony wasn't right on the ground. It was about a floor up. On top of that, when I got there, there was actually what they were calling like a dining room, but it was definitely not big enough to put a table in there. It was definitely big enough though to put a desk. So I could have made this little alcove off of the kitchen my office. So my office and my work would have been separated from my living area, which would have been awesome. I also love the built-in shelves that they had. This would have just been a perfect little space. It would have been such a great bedroom for my brother. He would have had so much room. However, let's talk about the cons of this apartment. So not only was it the top of my budget, but it was also east and north facing, I think, more so north facing, I feel. So the lighting would not have been very good in there. I currently am in a west south facing corner unit, and I honestly am spoiled. When I first walked into this apartment, I fell in love with it and instantly was like, I'm signing. Like, please, yes, where do I sign on the dotted line? Because the apartment before I had was also an east-facing unit, and it's always bright and sunny in the morning, but I tend to stay up late and wake up late. So it was always very dark and kind of depressing inside the apartment. And this apartment now is just so sunny and bright, and it just makes me so happy, which is probably the number one reason I'm sad to leave this apartment. So that was a con for that apartment. The space, the balcony, washer and dryer, all pros for it. I will also say whoever installed the floors did a very bad job on it. Like when you'd walk on them, you can feel them clicking. Like they didn't put subfloor or something underneath it. There was something wrong that they did for sure. On top of that, as I said, the kitchen was a catfish. It was not the higher quality kitchen. So to pay $2,200 for a kitchen I didn't think it was worth it. I ended up waiting to speak to the leasing agent, but they were taking way too long and I had to go to work. So I just texted them saying I had to go. And it just, it wasn't meant to be. It just wasn't. Although the washer and dryer would have been so good. After that, I just kept refreshing Achilles' website, but there was just nothing else on there that was really giving what I wanted or was in the time frame that I needed. A lot of them were for November, it seemed like, and I couldn't even go view them. So there was other units that I did want to view, but they weren't available to view. So the second building I went to go view units was yet again another building that I had seen in the past that I was interested in. And the photos online were very outdated. I was a little bit skeptical if I was going to like the units, and I was pleasantly surprised. So the unit I ended up getting shown, I instantly was so excited because it had white stone countertops, which is something that I have never had in my apartments. I love light colored things. And light colored countertops have been on my bucket list for so long to have, and it's something I'm going to install in my future home. However, my first apartment, I had dark, like navy blue gray kind of laminate counters. Hated them. Love the cabinets. They were very old. They were cute. However, in this apartment now, they are stone countertops. That was one of my criteria. If I was going to get a new place, they had to be stone countertops. I was not going back to laminate. And right now they're like a gray colored stone, which I don't love because they don't photograph good if I want to take pictures of food. It's just not, what I want. So seeing this kitchen that had the white countertops, white kitchen, it also had full size stainless steel appliances, not apartment sized, full sized. And they were all matching stainless steel, the same brand. They weren't mix matched. I was just blown away. On top of that, although the floors were parquet, I was looking for more just like the regular slat flooring, not the parquet. They were light colored. So that did make me happy. The bathroom was also all white, so a good base for me to build off of. And the bedroom was also a decent size. It also had cast iron radiators, so that made me happy. At the time, I didn't even think about this apartment because the super ended up showing me multiple different units, which I didn't film. I'm so stupid. I should have filmed them. I don't know why I didn't. I think I was just, nervous because I was walking around with the super. I wasn't just viewing it by myself like the first apartment. But I should have filmed them because he showed me multiple different units. And after that unit, he ended up showing me ones that actually were one bedroom plus this walk-in closet that was off of the den. That was the same price as the other units that were just regular one bedrooms. And that walk-in closet off the den, because in the first unit he showed me, there was only like a linen closet and then another closet, which would have been my space. Whereas in the ones that had the walk-in closet, I'd have all that extra space. And I was thinking I could possibly turn the walk-in closet into like a soundproof studio to record videos for my second channel, or just use as extra storage. And I was like, that is really awesome. Actually showed me another unit before the unit I filmed, but someone was already living in it. So all their stuff was in there and it was a mess. And I was not going to pull out my phone to film in there. It was awkward. They were not home, thankfully, but their apartment was quite messy and it was a north facing unit. So it was super dark in there and I was just not interested at all. So he ended up showing me the unit that I filmed. And then after that, he showed me one other unit that had that walk-in closet situation. But the super ended up suggesting that he actually had another unit possibly coming up the following week where someone was going to move out into a 2-bedroom unit. So he wasn't 100% sure, but on the Monday he was going to let me know and I could view that unit, and that one was on the 2nd floor. So he said it would have gotten better lighting. So I ended up waiting a couple days till the Monday and he messaged me and I went to view that unit. However, when I went to view that unit, it was a little bit awkward. Not only was the family home that was still living in that unit, so I had to walk through their apartment while they were home, but the floors in the unit were stained a dark tone. They were a dark brown, which is something I don't like. I like light colored floors. And so it was super awkward because I walked out of there and had to tell the super, who's like an older man, I was like, I'm sorry, you might not understand this, but that's just not my vibe. It's just not my aesthetic. I don't like the dark floors. So he was a little confused. So he ended up showing me another unit that had light wood floors. However, the lady was home there too and her babies were sleeping. So I had to walk in very quickly, like 10 seconds I looked, and I went to look at the kitchen and all the appliances in the kitchen were completely different. They were like a cheaper, I don't even know. They were just cheap looking. They weren't the same as that first unit he had showed me. And at that point I was kind of feeling defeated because I was so excited he was going to show me these units that I was going to fall in love and sign on the dotted line that day. But when he showed me the dark floors and then the ugly kitchen, I was like, this is not what I was looking for. I forgot to mention, these units were all $18.50 a month plus an incentive of 1 month free. However, hydro I needed to pay, which was fine. Great deal. The cheapest I ended up finding. However, I was just so defeated because I was like, okay, I want this 1 bedroom plus the walk-in closet. Now he doesn't have any units to show me. I ended up asking him, and the unit he had showed me the week before or a couple days before was already rented out. So I couldn't get that unit that had the walk-in closet and the kitchen was fine. So I was like, I don't know what to do. So I ended up leaving there feeling very defeated. I was very disappointed because I had been excited to, get that apartment. I was like, cool, it's going to work out. I'm going to get like decentish lighting because the east facing 2nd floor would have had a bit better lighting. But But I was like, maybe it's just not meant to be. I don't know. So I ended up going home that day, again, like very sad. I ended up seeing another building that came available with some units that were one bedroom that had balconies. And it said, I swear it said that they had renovated units, but it was very interesting to say the least when I went to this third building. So when I first got to this building, I had some high hopes because it was in a great spot for me to be able to get to work, to be able to go, downtown or go shopping or go thrifting. It was just in a great spot. Once again, it was in an older building. I think this one was $19.50 a month plus 1 month free. There was also a gym in this building, even though it was an older building, which I thought, that would be nice to have if I wanted to go work out. When I got in there, let me tell you, this apartment was a little bit scary. I am used to going into older units. I love older buildings, but this one was interesting to say the least. It was west facing, which was exactly what I wanted. And it did have some charm and character, but the kitchen was not renovated and the layout was a little bit tiny for what I was looking for. But number one, it was the kitchen that I definitely was not really vibing with, to say the least. It was just really cheap. It had the same oven that I have now, but I just couldn't see how I could make that kitchen look cute. And I also just didn't want to downgrade. The counters were laminate. The bedroom was fine. I think it would have been fine for my brother. There was actually 2 closets in there, which was cool. And it also, for some reason, had an air conditioner already in the window. I don't know why. The air conditioner looked really gross. The bathroom was also just fine. It was just an older bathroom. I didn't really love the tiles on the floor for this one. But it was when I opened up this closet and there was this weird stain on the ground that looked like blood. I was just not a fan because that would have been my closet and I just wasn't interested. It kind of spooked me. I also didn't understand why the ceiling had paneled tiles on it still. It just was very outdated and strange. And it just overall felt very dirty in there. All the other apartments I've ever walked into, I just haven't felt physically dirty. And I don't know if it's because there was weird stains on the floor or what, but I just felt dirty in there. And I just felt like I would never feel comfy or clean in there. You know what I mean? There's just like a vibe that just wasn't right. Just the building in general felt kind of gross. The guy that was showing me around was also wearing like surgical gloves and he looked like a maintenance guy. He didn't look like a super. It was just a little weird. He ended up showing me one other unit that also, I'm pretty sure, was west facing, had a balcony, all that stuff. The kitchen looked the same. However, the bathroom had some really cute penny tile on the floor, which I liked that better. But I was kind of just thrown off after that last unit and I wasn't interested, especially because the kitchen I would have been downgrading for a similar-ish price that I'm already paying now to have a renovated kitchen. So why would I do that? I think I also forgot to mention that unit also I had to pay hydro for. On top of that, because it was a west-facing unit, it was on the side where the road was, and it was just extremely loud in there as well, which I didn't like. So I think the location was kind of the only pro for that building. So once again, I had to return home and just be a little defeated because I'm like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? I was contemplating, like, should I even put my 2-month notice in? Should I just stay here and say fuck it and just pay the, inflated rent because I do like this place? However, I did end up finding one more apartment building that I was interested in looking at. And this building was way out of the way where I normally would have looked, but I had actually never considered this area before. And that was the Yonge and Lawrence area. I am totally fine with living in more of a suburb area if it's easily accessible to get to, other things I want to go do. And I definitely love a quieter vibe. That's also another reason I like older buildings because sometimes they're kind of amongst kind of residential areas, which is nice. This building was so freaking cute. It had all of the charm you could ever want in a building. The building was very old. The hydrangeas were gorgeous outside. The lobby was also really pretty. I don't think I ended up filming the lobby, but it was so cute, very vintage looking. And the elevator was something I also didn't film because I was going up to view the unit with a super. So I wasn't just going to whip my phone out. It would have been awkward. But the elevator, they called the Shining elevator because it was an old school elevator that you had to like slide the thing across. And it was super tiny, which would have been a con because I don't know how anyone brought furniture up and down in that thing. It was so small. Like 2 people were pretty much almost like shoulder to shoulder in there, it felt like. So that's something I don't know what we would have done with that unit, but the building in general was so charming. When I walked into that unit, I would have signed on the dotted line had the kitchen been what I wanted. That was one of the major problems with this unit. The entire apartment was so freaking cute. All of the, how do I explain this? Like all of the like doorknobs and just little details were so vintagey and I loved it. I also loved that it was a corner unit. So again, it got great lighting in there and the kitchen was really big. However, the super kind of lied to me a bit because I had asked her on the phone the day before when I was booking the appointment to come view it if the kitchen had white countertops, and she said she was pretty sure it did, like yes, or I probably wouldn't have gone to see it. I'm kind of glad I did because it was just really cool to go see it because it was a cute unit. But I went there with the expectation that again I was going to sign on the dotted line because I was going to love the unit. But when I walked in, the kitchen did have upgraded like cabinets, but the counters were laminates. And I was very sad about that. I may have, not passed it up if the counters had been stone, but again, I wasn't going to downgrade. On top of that, the appliances weren't as cute as that other building. So I was getting frustrated now because I'm like, I love this apartment building. I don't really love the location because it's kind of out of the way, but it's still like a nice area. It's a safe area. The building's cute. The apartment has all of the charm I could want. It also had a fireplace like I have now, which I loved. But one other con was that the living room was quite small. I don't know how I was going to put a bed in there and kind of put my desk space and have things separated. I was having some issues trying to decide how I was going to do that. So after viewing this unit, I ended up going and sitting at a coffee shop and I was really trying to contemplate what to do. I was trying to decide, should I take a unit from that other building where I really, really loved the kitchens, but they didn't have, the 1 bedroom and that walk-in closet available? Or should I just sign for this place, even though I didn't love the kitchen? I didn't really love how far away it was from, the area I was trying to be in. Also, that last unit I viewed was around 1950 as well, I think, plus hydro. And also the elevator was just really small. So I'm like, how do I bring things up and down? It seems kind of inconvenient. But again, the charm. I loved the charm. So as I was sitting in that coffee shop, I ended up realizing as I was looking over the videos from all of the places I'd viewed that the kitchen that I had loved was in just a singular 1-bedroom unit. And it wasn't in the one with the walk-in closet. So I was wondering if that unit was still available because the super had told me the other units weren't available, but he didn't tell me about that unit. So I ended up emailing him as I was sitting there and he ended up telling me that it was available. So I just basically sat at the coffee shop for a few hours that day and wandered around the area and just tried to contemplate like which unit should I try to go for. Should I go for the one that had, kind of worse lighting because it's east facing, so it'd be more just, morning lights, but it has the kitchen I like, it has floors I like? Or should I go with the unit that had the better lighting, but is a little bit smaller, tons of charm? It's out of the way though, and the elevator was kind of a weird situation, although it was really cool. I really was having a hard time, but I ended up eventually making a decision. But that is a decision that you're going to have to find out in the next video. I have one more honorable mention though. I didn't go view this unit. However, I emailed to go view this unit, and this building had a balcony. It had a really cool view of the city and stuff like that. The lighting probably would have been great in there, but I don't know if it was a scam post or what it was, but it was on realtor.ca, which I never really used for finding apartments. But when I messaged the leasing agent to go view it, they wanted me to literally supply them with like all of my income and all of that stuff beforehand before I could go view the unit. And I thought that was very weird. I wasn't going to do that. I don't know if that's just something with units on Realtor because they want to like pre-qualify you, but I'm like, I'm not going to get pre-qualified to come view this unit because I'm probably not going to like it because the kitchen wasn't renovated. Honorable mention, I thought the unit would have been cool, possibly just because of other factors, but I wasn't going to go jump through hoops to go view that unit. And it was also way more expensive. I can't remember the price. So yeah, let me know down below which unit you would have chose out of these 4-5 units that I ended up viewing. But if you want to see the unit that I ended up choosing, because I ended up making a choice, hit that subscribe button so you'll get notified when I end up posting the next part to the series. I am very excited to let you know that I did choose something, because I was actually there at the new unit today, but I actually have this apartment for another 2 months. So I'm going to be making content between the two. So if you want to watch that moving journey, again, hit the subscribe button so that you can follow along. And with that, the sun is setting. So I will let you all go, and I will see ya at the move-in vlog.